Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of PlayStation Pursuit. As you can see behind me, ta-da! A new backdrop for the PlayStation Pursuit. I'm no longer right up to the camera, and you actually get to see a little bit of the collection other than a little square of just side jewel cases. Wanted to kind of change up the format a little bit eventually, and it's just been taking so long to get the game room reorganized because of stuff I've been getting rid of and new stuff I have been keeping it aside before I can talk about it in videos and stuff. So it's a slow process, but as you can see, there's a couple small shelves over here, and then as they go over here and fill in, I'm going to eventually fill in the rest of the small jewel case games onto this shelf in the corner, and that gives me space up here, wall space. So hopefully soon you will see a full PlayStation themed backdrop with, you know, as the collection grows and everything, so it'll get a little more PlayStation centric. But for now, I think it's a pretty good start, and I'm glad that I'm not, like I said, right up in your face like it has been while things were really tight in the game room. So I got a few more pickups for this week's episode. Nothing too crazy, but every edition counts, so stick around and I'll show you what I have. Okay, so in the beginning of August, I worked an event down in Watkins Glen, actually Watkins Glen International, the racetrack at Watkins Glen, and I worked there doing an activation event for my job. And while I was down there, I was killing some time, kind of in the Corning, New York area, which is a little area in the southern tier, and they have like there's a museum of glass there and everything. It's a pretty cool place. And I was actually just getting some food at Wegmans grocery store down there, and I drove down this one main street, and there was a little store called Almost New, and it's one of those little hole in the wall places. You know, it's just one room as you walk in, but it's a nice little storefront. They had a neat little selection of games for all sorts of systems, but of course I was looking for PlayStation games, and I got a couple editions from there, which was really cool. I believe the lady's name was Karen, if I remember correctly. I'm sorry if you ever see this Karen and you're like, that's not my name, but you were really nice. Service was great. I had good conversation with the people in there, and I got a couple cheap additions to the collection. The first one is an IDOS game I remember seeing advertised all the time back around the Tomb Raider era, because it was also, you know, that game was made by IDOS, and it is Death Trap Dungeon, which is kind of like a third-person medieval style Tomb Raider. I don't think there's much platforming. It's more hack and slash. Looks a little clunky, but I've always wanted to play it since back in the day, so pretty cool to have that. And then this is a, you know, extreme sports were all the rage back in the 90s and even into the 2000s, and sometimes there was even like unrealistic extreme sports games that took place in the future or were more cartoony, and this is one of those, and I've always wanted to check it out. It is called Cyberdeck, and it's sponsored by Vans Shoes, apparently, because that's on there. And it says there's like pickups and puzzles and stuff through the track, so it seems like it's just a snowboard style racing game with these futuristic hoverboards, but there might be a little more to the game, so I'm looking forward to trying that. Another one I heard of for years, but never played. And then this one, I have the first game in the series on PlayStation, and it's a really cool looking game, and it's been so long since I played it, I can't remember how fun it really is, but this was the second one in the series, and I never got a chance to check it out, and I got it really cheap, so I'm really excited to see how it is. And it is G-Police Weapons of Justice. So the only sequel, I don't believe there's any more G-Police games that were ever made, but this and the Cyberdeck game are both put out by Psygnosis, or Psygnosis, I don't know how you pronounce it, but they did the Wipeout games back in the day, so I'm sure both these games have a nice style to them that I'm looking forward to checking out. So cool additions at Almost New in Corning, New York. Check it out if you're ever in town. So these next two games I actually got from my friend Pat Milligan, who is River City Retro, that I've talked about many times before. He sells games and is a really great seller and a good friend of mine too. And he knows that I'm looking for PlayStation games and stuff, so if he ever has ones that I don't have, he likes to let me know. And also he has non-game related stuff. But I'm going to show the games that he set aside for me. First one is just a Disney common game, and that is Pooh's Party Game. Looks like it's a mini game collection or maybe even a Mario Party type game with Winnie the Pooh. Might be fun, even though it's probably skews for the younger audience. It looks like it might be fun. And then this is a one-on-one 2D fighter based on an anime that I've never watched, and that is Inuyasha, a Feudal Fairy Tale. So, both of the cases in these need to be replaced, but the manuals, art, and disc are in very good shape. So, thank you so much, Pat. I really appreciate these. And that's all the game pickups for this episode. I'm going to talk about a few of my PlayStation favorites, as always. And then when I come back, I'll show you a couple extra things that I got from Pat Milligan that are PlayStation related, even though they're not actual games. So stick around and I'll show you those. Alright, so for the PlayStation favorites this week, I want to talk about two games in the shooter genre. If you've watched not just the PlayStation Pursuit, but past episodes of Sprite Lovers, you probably know that I'm a big fan of shoot-'em-ups, rail shooters, light gun shooters, and even first-person shooters. And I'm going to start by talking about a game that's kind of a shoot-'em-up, but it's got a couple cool other twists to it. And I actually have talked about it briefly way back when I first got it in a pickup video a couple years ago. But I wanted to talk about it a little more on the PlayStation Pursuit because I think it's a really cool and I think underappreciated game at the time, but now I think a lot of people might really dig this game. So it is a long box game for one, so that's something really cool. And it is Philosoma. And what it is, first of all, it's one of those cardboard style long box games, and it's in really fantastic shape. I remember when I saw it, I was like, wow. I got this at a store that sold sports memorabilia, baseball cards, stuff like that, and then also some games from various systems. And this was on the shelf. It was really cheap, and it caught my eye because I never saw it before at the time. And once I brought it home and played it, really loved it. So it is at its core just a shoot 'em up, but what's really cool about it is it changes perspectives all the time. So the first level will start you off as a horizontal scrolling shooter, and then it switches perspective to behind the ship, almost in a Star Fox style, but with your ship still being a sprite instead of a fully polygonal ship. And then the backgrounds have like a mix of 2D and 3D elements, and it even does like a front-on camera for some boss fights and level parts. And what's cool about it is it seems like it never stays with one style of video or of a level. It kind of makes it from a different perspective, and then as soon as it gets a little old, it kind of switches it up. And I think back when this came out, being that it was an early PlayStation title, it probably didn't seem, other than those camera angle changes, it probably didn't seem like that much. It's like just another shoot 'em up. But I think over time, now that like the wow factor of the PlayStation doesn't apply because these games are so all primitive and old now compared to the games of today, I think that now people who are looking for games for the PlayStation that might be cool to check out and enjoy shoot 'em ups, they'll probably play this and go, wow, this is really cool, this is right up my alley. But back in the day, I don't think it got too much press. It does say best shooter of the year from EGM Buyer's Guide, so probably wasn't much competition, and that's why, because you don't really hear too many people talking about this. But I really like it. Long box title, definitely look out for it when you're looking for cool shooters on the PlayStation. Alright, this next shooter for PlayStation is more of the rail shooter style like Star Fox. In fact, this is a lot like Star Fox. I'd say it's almost like PlayStation's Star Fox. I first heard of this game on the channel of Pete Dorr, who's a pretty good friend of mine and other YouTuber, and he talked about it as being like a hidden gem on the PlayStation, and I was like, wow, that looks really cool. And I happened to find it in Albany, and at the time, it was a very inexpensive game. It was like $7 or something like that. Now I think it's pushing between $75 and $100. Last time I checked, might have gone down, might have gone up, probably gone up knowing the way games have been going lately. But the game is called Vanarch. Very unique title in that the main levels play in a Star Fox style. It's behind the ship, fully 3D. There's lots of enemies that go by. You have cool weapons and everything, and the levels have a kind of like a jungle, or not even jungle, but like an Earth type theme. And there's like a volcano looking level. And what's cool is it's separated, the levels are separated with like these almost like Resident Evil style pre-rendered backgrounds that tell the story. So for some, it might kind of slow down the pace of the game. I thought it was kind of cool to set it apart from just a game that's like, here, next shooter level, next shooter level. And from what I remember, the story wasn't anything to write home about. It was kind of one of those games that back in the PlayStation and Saturn era, and even like early PC games, that just the fact that it had voice acting and stuff was a bullet point they tried to talk about. In fact, is it on the back of the box? I don't think it is, but you know what I mean. In that, you know, even games that just had CD audio back in the day, it was like, wow, this is really cool. And it looks like this came out around 1999, and I really think the graphics look awesome for the PlayStation. I mean, the 3D levels look really smooth, and again, very evocative of Star Fox. So, different style of shooter, not shoot 'em up, but I wanted to talk about this as well as one of my favorite shooters on the PlayStation. And again, it's probably really expensive nowadays, but if you can find a good deal on it, or if you're just looking to find a really cool game and you want to fork out the money for it, this is definitely a good game to track down. Really nice disc art on it as well. Looks really cool. So, yeah, very happy to have this in the collection, and I think you should definitely check it out if you like these kinds of games. Okay, to finish off this week's episode, I'll show a few cool things that I got from Pat Milligan that weren't, like I said, actual games, but still PlayStation related. One of them, I will never use this, but it's cool to have in the collection, is a little PlayStation 1 wallet, which is cool because it looks just like the PlayStation 1 with the circular top and everything for the disc tray. So, just a cool thing, and he thought, you know, I'd like it, and I definitely did, so thank you, Pat, for that. And then a slightly larger and more useful packaging is this PlayStation 1 travel case. Got the PlayStation logo on here and is in pretty good shape, has a lot of pockets and everything like that. So thank you, Pat, for hooking me up with that as well. Really cool. And then the remainder of things I got from him are actually accessories. They've been out of frame. First one is a complete in-box controller by ASCIIware, and it's just looks like an old controller before there was analog sticks and stuff. And I don't want to get like third-party stuff for the PlayStation that often unless it is officially licensed. And this controller has the PlayStation logo, so this was officially licensed by Sony, has their font and everything on here. So very glad to have that in the collection as well. And this one, even though I said I don't want third-party controllers, this controller was interesting because I used to see it back in Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine, and a lot of people saw it, and it actually came back up in conversation right before the PlayStation 3 came out, because if you recall, the PlayStation 3 was originally going to have these boomerang-shaped controllers that looked horrible. But I was like, you know, maybe they actually felt good. They just looked so ugly that they killed them. But maybe they did feel good. But if this controller is anything to any sign of what it was actually like, then it's definitely a good thing we didn't have that. And it is the Alps Interactive. I don't know what the name of it is of the controller is, but it's this weird hawk boomerang, very like sharp edges and everything. It's got the one good thing I will say is these little grip texture on the back actually work pretty well. But the shoulder buttons, every button is like rounded in a way that reminds me of the original Xbox Duke controller, which I like that controller for its size. It's heft for people with bigger hands, but I hated that. Like, I mean, look at these. They're like teardrop shaped buttons. They're really weird and they just don't feel good. I can't imagine playing a fighting game with this or anything that requires like quick button pressing and timing. So, terrible controller, but it's like a piece of history that I wanted to have in the PlayStation 1 collection. So, thank you, Pat, for letting me have that as well. And then, this was just a nice little bonus he threw in when I was getting some stuff from him, which I definitely, even though this is third party, I will be glad to have this because I want to try it out. I've always wanted to. And it is the PlayStation Link cable that connects to PlayStations. Now, not a lot of games use it, but there's several games for the platform that let you link up two systems, System Link style. And I'm a big fan of LAN and System Link parties. I've done that with Halo on the original Xbox, and going to like events where people have computers hooked up. There's something about that mix of having it feel like you're playing online, but you still have the person in the room. You don't have to worry about splitting the screen or anything. I love that kind of gameplay. So I know I have a few games for the PlayStation that have that feature. So now that I have the cord, I'll be glad to check that out and see how those games play TV on TV. Because it's easy to track down another PlayStation system, in most cases another copy of the game, but you got to have the cord to be able to connect them. So definitely looking forward to checking that out. Alright, so as of this episode, I'm now at 521 titles for the original PlayStation, so getting up there, and I do have a few more already that aren't in this episode, so I know the number is going to be going up soon, and it's really exciting. I'll be at 600 before I know it soon, so I'm really excited for that. Thank you for watching another episode. I hope you like where the background and new style and perspective of the episode is going. If you have any cool PlayStation junk you're trying to get rid of that you think would look nice on this wall or on the shelves, I'm definitely willing to take any offers on stuff like that. And I also am excited because I have some other things already purchased that will look nice back here too. And of course, as the games grow, this shelf is going to look nice. You'll see there's some odds and ends like controllers I've talked about in the past and stuff. They're just there temporarily while I clean up the place. So stick around for some more episodes. I'm really excited to see where the collection grows from here. And once again, thank you for watching. And if you haven't liked or subscribed the video, the channel, or the Facebook page, I appreciate you doing that and being right there as I post new episodes every week. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.